Have you ever caught yourself doing something and thought, wait a minute, is this just me? Or is this something that comes with age? Maybe it's forgetting why you walked into a room. Maybe it's feeling more irritated over little things that never used to bother you. Or maybe it's catching your reflection and noticing a change you weren't quite ready for. The truth is, aging brings a lot of beauty, more wisdom, more perspective, more freedom. But it also brings along a few things that no one really warns you about. You know, the not-so-glamorous side of getting older, the awkward, annoying, or downright unpleasant habits or changes that start creeping in. And suddenly you're thinking, why didn't anyone tell me about this part? That's what we're going to talk about today. Because the more we shine a light on these things, the more we can take back control. We're going to go through 12 real, often uncomfortable things that seniors start to do as they age. Things many people deal with, but don't often say out loud. And listen, this isn't about judgment. It's about awareness, about understanding your body and mind a little better, so you can make small shifts that lead to big improvements. Let's start with one that sneaks up quietly but affects almost every part of your life. Withdrawing socially without even realizing it. At first, it might feel like you just want a little more quiet. Maybe you say no to that dinner invite because it feels like too much effort. Maybe you skip church for a few weeks because you're not in the mood. Maybe you stop calling people back because, well, you're not sure what you talk about anyway. But before you know it, days turn into weeks. And slowly, you're spending more and more time alone. Not in a peaceful, relaxing way, but in a way that starts to feel lonely, isolated, and sometimes even a little sad. This happens to so many seniors. And it's not just about being tired or introverted. It's often tied to a quiet kind of emotional exhaustion. The world feels faster, conversations feel more draining, and your energy for socializing just isn't what it used to be. But here's the tricky part. Isolation doesn't just affect your mood. It affects your memory, your physical health, your sleep, and even your immune system. Studies have shown that chronic loneliness can be as harmful as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So if you notice yourself pulling away more than usual, take that as a gentle nudge, not to suddenly become a social butterfly, but to reach out in small ways. A quick phone call, a cup of coffee with someone you trust, even a friendly chat with the cashier at the store. Staying connected, even in small doses, is one of the best medicines you can give yourself. Now let's talk about something else that tends to catch people off guard, getting irritated more easily. You used to be pretty patient. A little slow driver in front of you, no big deal. Someone talking loudly on the phone, yeah, whatever. But now, you feel your temper rising more often. You snap at small things. You feel overwhelmed by noise, clutter, interruptions. Even if they're minor, it's frustrating because it's not who you've always been. And then you start to wonder, am I turning into a grump? No, you're not. But what's likely happening is a mix of sensory overload and cognitive fatigue. As we get older, our brains process information a bit slower. That doesn't mean you're less sharp. It just means that too much stimulation can feel overwhelming. Loud sounds, bright lights, busy spaces. These things can make your brain feel like it's running on low battery. And when that happens, your patience wears thin faster. The solution isn't to force yourself to tolerate everything. It's to give yourself more space to reset. Maybe you take short breaks during the day to sit quietly. Maybe you turn off background noise when you're working on something. Maybe you practice breathing exercises when you feel irritation rising. The more you give your mind space to breathe, the more calmly you'll handle the everyday little annoyances. And if you do snap once in a while, give yourself grace. You're human, and being aware of it is already a step in the right direction. Now here's one that almost nobody talks about, but so many people experience. Becoming more forgetful and hiding it out of embarrassment. Maybe you notice you're misplacing things more often. Your glasses, your keys, even your train of thought. You might catch yourself asking the same question twice, or struggling to recall a word that's right there, but just won't come out. And instead of mentioning it, you just smile and nod, hoping no one noticed. Sound familiar? You're not alone. What's important to know is this. Mild forgetfulness is completely normal with age. It doesn't mean you're getting dementia. it doesn't mean something's wrong. Your brain is filtering through decades of information, names, faces, memories, routines. It's working hard. And sometimes it needs a little more time. The mistake many seniors make is hiding it, pretending it's not happening. And that creates stress, anxiety, even shame. But when you acknowledge it, when you talk about it openly, you take away its power. You start finding ways to support your memory, like using notes, keeping consistent routine, or doing brain exercises that keep things sharp. Most importantly, you start trusting yourself again, because aging is not about hiding what's hard. It's about meeting it with grace, honesty, and strength. Now that we've touched on the first few things seniors tend to experience as they age, things nobody really warns you about, let's keep the conversation going. There's still more to uncover, and each insight brings you closer to feeling understood, empowered, and ready to take charge of your health and happiness. Let's keep this honest conversation going, because the more we talk about these little changes, the ones no one ever really prepares us for, the more power we have to deal with them in a calm, confident way. Here's one that's incredibly common but rarely spoken out loud. Repeating the same stories without realizing it. You're in a conversation with someone you love, maybe one of your kids or a neighbor, and partway through the story, they give you that polite smile, or they finish your sentence before you do, or they say, "Yeah, you told me this one already," and your heart sinks a little. You didn't mean to repeat yourself. You didn't even realize you had. And now you're wondering, am I slipping? Am I becoming that person who tells the same stories over and over? The truth is, this happens to almost everyone as they age, and it's not always a sign of memory loss. It often comes from something much simpler. Your stories mean something to you. They're connected to who you are, and when your world gets quieter and conversations aren't as frequent, your mind naturally reaches for the memories that feel familiar and comforting. But yes, it can be frustrating for you and for people around you. So here's something that helps. Instead of trying to force yourself to remember what you've already shared, focus on staying present in the conversation. Ask more questions. Invite others to share their stories. It turns a moment into something mutual, not just about what you said before. And if you do repeat a story, laugh it off. You've earned the right to have a few greatest hits. And honestly, some stories are worth hearing twice. Now let's talk about something a little more private. Neglecting personal hygiene or grooming. Not because you don't care, but because it just feels like too much. This one's tough because it's not always easy to admit. But you might notice yourself skipping showers more often. Maybe you stop putting on lotion, or you wear the same clothes multiple days in a row, or you just don't feel like brushing your hair or trimming your nails. And sometimes it's not about laziness. It's about energy. You're tired. Your joints hurt. The bathroom feels slippery or unsafe. Or honestly, you're not seeing people as much. So what's the point? But here's the thing. Personal hygiene isn't just about looking presentable. It's about feeling human. It's about dignity, self-respect, and staying in tune with your body. If this sounds familiar, be gentle with yourself. But also, try creating a simplified routine that feels manageable. Maybe you shower every other day instead of daily. Maybe you sit while brushing your teeth. Maybe you keep grooming items within easy reach, so you don't have to dig through drawers. And if something physically makes hygiene difficult, like bending, standing, or reaching, there are tools and supports that can help. Grab bars, shower seats, long-handled sponges, even help from a trusted caregiver. This isn't about vanity. It's about care. You deserve to feel clean, comfortable, and proud of how you care for yourself. And the small effort it takes often pays off in how you feel the rest of the day. Now here's something that almost always sneaks in gradually. Becoming more rigid in your thinking or resistant to change. You might notice yourself getting irritated when something isn't done the way it used to be. Maybe you get defensive about new technology. Maybe you brush off new ideas with, "That's not how we did it in my day." Sound familiar? It's okay. It happens to the best of us. But here's the interesting part. This doesn't happen because you're grumpy or closed-minded. It happens because your brain has spent a lifetime creating patterns that work for you. Your routines, your beliefs, your opinions, they've been reinforced over decades. And when something challenges that, when the world moves faster, When kids think differently, when new methods replace the old, it can feel like your foundation is being shaken. But here's the opportunity. The seniors who live the longest and happiest lives tend to be the ones who stay mentally flexible. They're curious. They're open. They don't cling to how things were. They adapt to how things are. You don't have to agree with everything new, but being open to learning, listening, and trying, that keeps your brain young. It keeps your relationships stronger, and it helps you keep pace with a world that isn't slowing down. So the next time something new crosses your path, instead of saying, "That's not for me," try asking, "What can I learn from this?" That small shift in mindset changes everything. Now let's keep going, because we're just scratching the surface of these little changes. The ones that feel awkward, uncomfortable, or a bit embarrassing, but are actually more common than you'd think. And the more we understand them, the better we can handle them. With grace, humor, and a whole lot of wisdom. Let's keep going, because this conversation is too important to stop here. The truth is, so many of the things we go through as we age are swept under the rug, either because we're embarrassed or we think no one else is dealing with it. But the more honest we are, the more empowered we become to handle these changes with grace instead of shame. Now, here's one that might hit close to home, speaking more negatively without noticing it. Maybe you caught yourself saying things like, "Well, it's all downhill from here," or "Back in my day, people had common sense," or even just sigh more often when someone mentions the news, young people, or how things are changing. And you might not even realize you're doing it until someone points it out or pulls away. This kind of shift in tone doesn't usually come from a bad place. It often comes from a mix of disappointment, loss, or even fear. You've seen more, lived through more, and in some ways you've had to say goodbye to parts of life you once loved. That can harden you a little. It's understandable. But the tricky thing is negativity, especially when it's subtle, can start to repel the very connection you need most. People pull away, conversations dry up, and suddenly you're left feeling isolated, which only makes it worse. What helps is noticing your internal voice, the one that reacts first. Is it usually critical, defensive, doubtful? When you hear yourself start to spiral or snap, pause, take a breath, and ask, "What's really bothering me here?" Then try shifting that thought just a little. Something like, "This is different, but maybe I can learn from it." Or, "I don't like this, but I'll figure out." It's not about toxic positivity. It's about giving yourself room to choose thoughts that support your peace instead of drain it. Now here's one that might surprise you. Ignoring small health issues that you'd never let slide when you were younger. That little ache in your side. The headache that's been lingering. The dry cough that comes and goes. When you were younger, you might have jumped on it, gone to the doctor, checked it out. But now, you tell yourself it's probably nothing. You wait. You brush it off. Why? Well, sometimes it's fear. You're worried it might be something serious, and you don't want to face it. Or maybe you've grown tired of medical appointments, bills, long wait times. Or maybe, deep down, a part of you thinks, "Well, I'm old. What do I expect?" But here's the truth doctors want you to remember. The earlier you catch something, the easier it is to manage, or even reverse. And your body, it's still fighting for you. It still wants to heal. But you got meted halfway. So if something feels off, don't wait. Make the call. Ask the question. Follow up. Your health matters just as much now as it ever did. In fact, it probably matters more. Next, let's talk about something that's not physical, but weighs just as heavy. Feeling invisible in social settings. You're at a family gathering and the conversation swirls around you, but no one really looks at you when they talk. You walk into a store and the clerk speaks slower, louder, or barely notices you at all. People assume things about you that you don't understand, don't care, or can't keep up. That feeling of being dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. It's more than frustrating. It's painful. And sometimes we start to believe it. We shrink ourselves a little. We stop raising our hand. We let others take the lead, even when we've got something to say. But let me remind you of something. Your voice still matters. You've lived decades. You've raised families, overcome hardship, witnessed history. You carry insight and experience that younger people can't Google. Don't let the world's assumptions steal your confidence. If you feel like you're being overlooked, speak up. Kindly, clearly, tell your story. Ask the question. Challenge the assumption. Show up for yourself, even if it's uncomfortable. Because when you claim your space with quiet strength, people notice. And more importantly, you remember who you are. Now that we've walked through a few more of these quiet, unpleasant, and very real changes that come with aging, remember, none of this is about shame. It's about awareness. The more you see these habits for what they are, natural responses to a changing body and world, the more power you have to soften them, shift them, and live with more ease. And there's still more to uncover. More habits that aren't often talked about, but are deeply common. Let's keep this honest conversation going. We've been having a real conversation, one that most people shy away from. And honestly, that's what makes it powerful. Because aging isn't all about smiles and sunsets. It's messy, it's strange, and yes, it can get a little uncomfortable. But the moment you realize you're not alone in what you're going through, the whole thing starts to feel a little lighter. Now, let's talk about one that's very common, yet rarely admitted out loud: feeling jealous of younger people. You might be scrolling through social media or just sitting in a restaurant watching a group of 20-somethings laughing, full of energy and without a care in the world. And there's this quiet voice in your head that whispers, "I remember when that was me." And sometimes that whisper becomes a sting. You feel invisible, like life is passing you by. And you wonder if your best days are behind you. It's normal to feel that. But here's the thing. Your value hasn't disappeared just because your body has changed. What younger people have in energy, you have in wisdom, in patience, in life experience. Instead of letting that envy turn into sadness or resentment, let it be a reminder to reconnect with joy, to chase a new curiosity, to step into the season of life not with regret, but with intention. You're not done yet, not even close. Next, let's touch on something that many seniors go through silently: hoarding or holding on to things just in case. You might look around your home and realize there are stacks of newspapers, drawers full of takeout sauce packets, clothes you haven't worn in 20 years, or medicine bottles that expired a decade ago. It's not just clutter. It's memory. It's fear of needing something later. It's a way of holding on to a time when everything felt familiar and full. But over time, that just-in-case pile turns into a burden. It makes your space feel smaller, heavier, less peaceful. Letting go doesn't mean letting go of the past. It means making room for right now, for who you are today, and how you want to live moving forward. Start small, one drawer, one shelf. And as you clear it out, notice how your energy shifts, how much lighter you feel. Because creating space in your home often creates space in your mind and heart too. And finally, perhaps the most painful of all, the habit of believing you are a burden. It creeps in when you ask for help, when your kids seem busy, when you forget something in public, when your body needs more support than it used to, and suddenly you're thinking, they'd be better off if they didn't have to take care of me. Or, I don't want to be a problem. Please, if you hear nothing else today, hear this. You are not a burden. You are a blessing. Yes, your need may be different now, but needing help doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you human. There are people who love you, people who want you here, people who are better, stronger because of the lessons you've shared, the love you've given, the presence you bring. You don't have to earn your right to take up space. You've already earned it just by living, just by being here. So take care of yourself, not out of guilt, but out of love. Let others help you when needed. Accept kindness without apology. And remember, you are worthy of good care inside and out. Now, as we come to the end of this conversation, I hope you're walking away not with fear or shame, but with relief, with understanding, and maybe even a little peace. Because yes, aging comes with some unpleasant surprises. Yes, it can be messy and confusing, but you are not broken. You are not alone. And you are certainly not finished. You have every right to be here, to speak up, to laugh loudly, to make mistakes, to start over. You've made it through decades of ups and downs. You've grown, you've loved, you've survived. And now this next chapter, it's yours to shape. So here's what I want you to do. Take one thing from this video that hit home Write it down, reflect on it, and if you feel brave, share in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needed to hear today. And if this video made you feel seen or understood, get a like. It really helps others find it too. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that button. We got so much more to share with you. Real conversations, real advice, and a whole community that's aging with strength, honesty, and heart. Here's to showing up, to speaking truth, to letting go of shame and holding on to love. Here's to living your best life at any age and not being afraid of the messy parts. You've got this, and we're here with you.